Hi everybody, and thanks for joining us for another episode of the Tea and Trails podcast. Thanks to Outdoor Active, Veloforte, Silver, Active Root, the Centurion Running Store, Protein Rebel, BoatShoes.com, Big Bobble Hats, and X Miles for supporting the show and our community. For the price of a cuppa, you can unlock some great perks that will help take some of the sting out of what can be an expensive sport. Last but not least, thanks to all our patrons who dig deep every month and literally keep the lights hot and the mics on. Go over to Patreon and check out all the amazing deals. Also pop over to Summit Crazy if you would like some awesome Tea and Trails merch. I love people sharing their merch pics. Keep them coming, everybody.
It's like a hug, isn't it? It's like a hug. It's like a virtual bit of loving when you see it and you're like, oh, I love that.
Well, Christopher says he was rocking, he had his t-shirt and his buff. And yeah, there's one slot left in our organizer Patreon tier. That's been really popular. Like I say, all of them snapped up apart from the last one. And don't forget, if you're part of that organizer tier and you would like to come on the show and tell everybody how ace your races are, then just hit me up. Also, lots of patrons due a snood. Now, I understand you might not want a snood, but if you do, you need to update your address details in Patreon. And when you become a 6-month-long member, I'll pop one in the post.
When you've suffered for 6 months, we'll give you a piece of material to wear around your neck.
That's a lot of work for a snood, isn't it?
To say thank you. Welcome to episode 22. I like a double number, same number, 22. This week we have Brew with the Coaches. Our guest is Bev Tucker. I dare you to come away from this episode not believing in the hashtag Be More Bev. What a great lady, and what a great story. She shares her Dragon's Back race story. I'm going to give you I'll give you a little Netflix spin-off. You know, when you press Netflix to come on and it gives you like the opening advert for things and you think that looks really good. But as we know with everything Netflix, the really good, all the money spent in the first 5 minutes and then you realize it's terrible. But not with this. Bev is amazing and everything that could have gone wrong in Dragon's Back goes wrong, but she carries on with such grace and such calmness and wow, she's amazing. We loved it. And this year she's also volunteering. So I've already given her some list of Gary things to watch out for.
I'm very needy.
Super needy. Don't get too close. Just keep space. How you doing, big guy? Gary's just said to me, what did you say? Muscle mass up, body weight down.
Body fat down. Well, I did jump on the scales, yeah, and I think probably about 3 weeks.
Have you got those fancy scales so that you're not just depressed about the number on it?
I've got the super duper Garmin index. So since I've been, I'll put it all down the creatine. I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty consistent down the gym. But yeah, muscle mass was up because I jumped on the scales and I think the weight was maybe a little bit heavier. So initially I was like, oh, goodness me, what's going on there? Because I think I'm eating quite good, quite clean. Body fat was down, which was like, oh, that's always pretty good. And yeah, muscle mass was up. So I'll take that. So yeah.
You look buff. It's incredible. Yeah. That's almost the stretch across the pecs of that T-shirt.
Yeah, working on me buns and guns, so that.
Oh, for God's sake.
But yeah, George and I were still loving it, getting pumped on a Friday. So he's really enjoying that. But what we have done, we've exceeded our freebies. So we need to start paying the man now.
You're going to sign him up for life membership?
As a kid, I'd be all into something for a few weeks and then I wouldn't.
I've been teaching this to the kids. They're all into whatever fad is at school. And they're like, they want to spend all their pocket money on marbles or used to be like Pokemon cards and stuff. And I'm like, okay, get a few and then leave it a few weeks. And if you want to spend the rest of your Pokemon, like, don't like try not the instant gratification. But I think there's something about growing up that's part of growing up, isn't it? Do you think he's all in and in a few weeks he's going to be like, I'm done?
Well, he's so in, he'll actually said he'll pay for it himself. So we will see. Yeah, so we'll go. I think we are going to go because I'm not going to be around on Friday, so we'll go over the weekend. And yeah, you know, if he does keep wanting to go, I think it's just nice. He's getting older. His friends are doing stuff like this, so it's nice for him to do that too. And also, it's wonderful that we can share that time.
I love being able to share exercise slots with the kids because you get the double tick, you get your fizz done, and you've also had a bit of childcare in there too.
On Saturday, he said his shoulders were aching, so I was like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's right. Eddie will be happy.
And I bought him his own protein shaker too. So,
oh my God.
It was so chuffed when it turned up. It was awesome.
Oh, I love it.
But running wise, let's get back on track. Yeah, 2 big days. I did an all county tops recce. Nav is still a bit dodgy, Eddie. I don't know why.
How can it be? You've lived up there like the last year.
There was so much clag at the top of Scarfield Pike. We really couldn't see anything. It seemed to take us longer to get up than get down. Obviously, it would with the gradient and stuff like that. But just finding the lines. But coming down, things opened up a lot easier. Getting across the bogs to Cockney Beck was fine. And then going up to Oman and Coniston, there's a few different ways you can go. And I've been on the Strava heat maps. I've been looking at Ricky Lightfoot's Strava, and everybody takes a slightly different line. So it'll be what it will be on the day. But it was slow pace, just trying to get the best of the navigation. And then on Saturday, I did I think it was about 20 miles actually, coastal loop, and then up through Castlereagh indeed again. Nice. And I think that heart rate zone 2. And what I have done, I've changed my training slightly.
Oh my God, hold the phone, Gary fans. Here we go.
Well, I'm super fond of the Garmin Connect
we
training
know.
It served me well, but I just found I was every week, because they always had their 3 quality sessions and the long one.
Every week you were telling us what you were going to do and then not actually
changing it, basically.
Yeah.
I would at least
That's
change.
Good.
Probably.
That's good.
Well, because there was never that 2 big long runs, which is pretty much what I'm doing. So I'm now, a lot of people probably have this book. It's called Advanced Marathoning.
Yes. It's got men in sort of 1980s singlet shorts.
They need to update the cover, yeah.
The cover.
But it always fascinates me coaching and people's approach, the philosophy to training, because this is mega different to, say, the Garmin plan and many other plans that I've seen. With this, there's only one, what I'd say was a quality session a week, plus the long run. They always have a medium long run, about 15 miles if you can find the time for that. But then they've got a lot of this, say, general aerobic, which is... It's just a little bit above easy pace. And then they throw some strides in there too. So there's two easy days, 2 recovery days, 2 what I would say are long runs, 1 quality session, and the rest of this general aerobic. And I just feel I can fit that in and it suits what I'm doing more. And I was just faffing, I was stressing probably like 2 weeks where it was really causing me some anxiety.
Yeah, and you never want that.
So I've just put my flag in the ground. This is how I'm going to do it going forward.
Why would you not follow a trail running plan? Why are you going for like a road running?
Well, that just involves buying something else to kind of...
Well, you don't need to buy it, but why would you not have the confidence to write your own plan?
Well, everything I do anyway is on the trails, so...
Yeah, but would you not do you feel better for getting it from the book? And then you're going to change it anyway to suit you. But why would you not just write it yourself?
Well, I suppose I do. This is just a template. It's like I think today's run is 7 mile at about half marathon pace. I might do half marathon effort, but it will be on the trail. So it will be a different type of thing. And then also... it might be like 800 meters. Maybe I'll do hills, or even the strides. It never says do hill strides, but I'll do my strides on an incline. So yeah, I do tweak it to suit what
personal interpretation.
Yeah, but I've got there's no science behind what I do. Yeah,
but sometimes just listening to your body is much more important than the science.
Well,
you can have all the plan you want, but if you're knackered or get injured or not feeling it that day, or it's raining.
It does surprise me how much volume I can cope with. I'm not young anymore, but 26 hours of exercise this week, including walking too, and 3 strength sessions and over 100 miles of everything combined, and about 14,500 feet of elevation. So for someone my age, I'm doing something right that I'm not falling to pieces with that amount of volume. Sleep is good. So sleep has been good. Heart rate variability back in the green, and the knee is still behaving itself. Knee is so good. I'm thinking about doing a separate YouTube video on collagen.
Geez. Oh, sorry, people.
I can't believe it. It's like I went from, I wouldn't say a skeptic, but not
but
fully
you were
invested
really
in it.
worried about the knee. It used to be a big part of the conversation, and you'd be like, oh, it's really bad. Or sometimes off the podcast, you'd be like, it was really bad at the end of the day, and what am I doing about this? But don't take any of his advice, people, though, because everyone kept going, Garrett, go to physio.
True.
Or instead, you've just taken loads of drugs.
That's exactly it. But I'm not thinking. The good thing is, when an injury is so distant that you stop thinking about it.
Yes, love it.
I'm not aware of it out in the runs, and even now when I'm down the gym, my left leg is slightly weaker than my right leg still, just because of all that time when my right leg was doing a lot more work. But it's just not a front and center of my mind when I'm doing stuff, which is good. So I have to say it. Pretty good week. What about yourself?
Oh, I'm going to bring you down. I'm going to bring you down well now.
Can I just say, everybody, actually, when we do the script, or the loose script, I've got about 15 lines of text and he's got 2 lines.
But that's all I need to prompt me into now the absolute down spiral of if I typed it all out, it would be an extra spreadsheet. You'd be like, Eddie's a double scroller. And that gives me anxiety. It was a funny week. I don't think the weather here is helping me generally, Gary. The cloud is low. We're living in like the rainforest, basically. Ooh, okay. It's been there for like 2 weeks. The cloud is really low. It's constantly raining or threatening rain, and then it pours. It's cold. I don't think that's helping. I remember I know I talk about my chiropractor, but basically he keeps me alive. He's saying that it really affects your spine because the pressure's low.
Yeah.
And it's cold. And so the synovial fluid and the joints and everything. And I think it also really affects my mood, not being able to see. Like literally we can't see the hills, we're in this like white cloud, and it's been like that for 3 weeks. And it looks like it's staying for another week, and I think that's rather affected.
I wonder if that's similar to if you say work in an office where there's no natural light. You just got that all the time. You just
want sunlight. Just need to get out. We did go down. The kids had a football match down the valley. So if you drive like 500 meters down, vertical down. It's beautiful. Spring is springing. We seem to just be so. I did treat myself. Yeah, I did the football matches this week, and that was lovely. Went down. I had a run around like normal places, roads, villages. Oh, it's beautiful. Yes. Anyway, yeah. So I did hill reps. They were good in the rain. I did a 20-mile road run. Sweet Lord above. I just got a bit bored as well, like because the roads around here, like I have to sort of like loop around. Do you do these on long runs, like finding reasons to stop? I'd be
all
like,
the time. Yeah.
Better just check my WhatsApp. I felt my watch vibrate.
Yeah.
Better just check that. And I'm like, I don't stop. But this one, I was like, I'm going to have a little stop. I'll get my Velo Forte shots out and spend ages like unwrapping the wrapper. Come on, Eddie, get it done. But I did get it done. Then the next day, I was meeting mates for like a long, but more of a hiking run. I just felt rubbish, Gary. I felt generally low mood grade. And as I approached them, I started just crying. I was just like, I know. I just felt like... They were like, what's wrong? Because normally I'm the, Eddie's here, let's go. And I was like, oh, it's still rubbish. Everything's rubbish. No, don't know why. Okay. And then we went on uphill on this muddy bit of piste, and I fell in a massive bog. Just this massive sinkhole. We were on like quite a pitchy gradient. I literally couldn't get out.
Is that the one we got rescued with the poles? Poles?
So 2 of my friends just got their phones out thinking this is great. We're just going to video her and then post it all over social media. That didn't help. And then I literally couldn't pull my trainer out. It was so thick, the mud, that I thought if I pull my foot out, the trainer is I'm going to lose it and I'll never find the trainer. I'm going to lose it. These are expensive trainers. Anyway, one of my friends did help me out, but we were only like 2K into the run, and my feet were like 2 blocks of mud, like not even mud, whatever it was, cows. Anyway, that was a bit depressing. And then my friend loves taking photos. She loves taking photos of me from the backside view. Oh, and if she goes quiet, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then I joke with her, I'm like, you obsessed with me. You take photos all the time. But I'm not big on taking photos. So then she does always then provide us with content for Strava. Yeah. Anyway, she took this photo of me on the top of one of the climbs. I'm doing something with dog leads. Anyway, I looked at the photo. I was like, oh my God, I look like 10-ton Tessie. I am surrounded by beautiful women, tall, wonderful, athletic women, but I don't have any aspirations that I am this amazing looking Jessica Ennis Hill lookalike. But I don't think that I looked like I did in that photo. I looked at that photo, Gary, and my mood was already low. I may have been a bit tired. I looked at that photo and it sent me into like this spiral for the like
Oh,
48 hours of like total, oh my God, look at me. I look like
it
I'm.
must have just been an unlucky angle, surely, Eddie.
I said to Bryn, is this what I really look like, Bryn? And of course he was like, yeah. I was like, what? Like normally, like I do not bother, as people know who watch this on YouTube, I actually had to throw makeup away the other day before I went to a party because I was like, this I've had since I was 18. And the wand, I have no interest in what I look like, really. I'm like my body to be able to do what it can do, and it will look like it was look. I've had 3 children, so I'm never going to, my stomach is always going to be a bit dodge, but it doesn't matter because underneath the folds of loose skin, I can feel my abs. I can feel how strong they are. You know, I can do Pilates, I can do yoga, I can run. So normally my body is functional and it is fine. I live, I don't even spend a moment. But anyway, for some reason, whether it's, I'm in that part of the training cycle where I've got sort of like 10 days left and I'm tired and long runs are becoming a bit of a chore. Sessions are becoming a bit of a chore. I'm ready to freshen up. I think a lot of this I'm really tired. I've had a lot of single parenting. The kids, as we all know, have had so many days off school. So I've been constant trying to catch up. All of that, I think it knocked on and I had a bit of a low 48 hours where I was like, am I fooling? Like, I can't find it hard to explain, but I thought it was really important to tell the story because I'm sure so yesterday when I ran with my friends, we went on a lovely long run, loads and loads of climbing, and I said to them about this picture. And then, of course, it opened such a great dialogue up of friends that come across as super confident. We're women that we put on backpacks and we spend 3 days and we run around Mont Blanc and we climb across snow fields and they're all doing amazing things. One's just passed her French mountain leader, which 2% of the country can do because just the course to get onto the course is so hard. And she's just like, these are super women. And they're all like, we feel the same. We feel the same. Yeah. And so I was like, well, it's good to know, but also really sad that we have that. We have to have that dialogue, but
I don't like taking comfort. I don't like taking comfort in other people's insecurities, but it is something to know that we all. But
I also was so unaware of that because I'm normally just look at my spine photos. There's no glamour in Eddie's life normally, but I was amazed how much that knocked me down, and I was annoyed as well. I was equally annoyed that I would care so much that I looked like a Oompa Loompa.
Oh, you don't.
Anyway, I had some words. Talk to Bryn. Always good to talk if you're feeling feel a bit low. I think it definitely coincided with big training days, low energy. But one thing I never want to do, and as I'm always really honest on the podcast, is I'm never going to force my body into looking a certain way because I believe that way will be better. Yeah. I believe I should look away for social media. And often people do come up and they're like, Eddie, you're like this super tough athlete, but you look like a normal person. And that could be quite triggering for some people. You're like, but whoa, but I also normally take real comfort in that I am that's what I am. I'm just a normal person that's just really stubborn. Anyway, so that threw me, but we came back out the other side. I did do a really good 20-mile road run. I did do backed it up with a 3-hour mud fest. I did my hill reps in the rain and I managed to organize a kid's birthday and do all my work. It was juggling so much. So I was like, be kind to yourself, Eddie. Be kind to yourself. Come out now, started the week with a bang with a lovely long run with my mates, exactly what was needed. And then I went out this morning and did my sort of loop. It's hilly, it's hard loop. And I felt great. I was zinging along. First time in a long time. And I think yes, good, because it's been a long time. I've slogged it out for 2 or 3 weeks, feeling pretty tired. And I do think I've been taking my collagen. I've been taking my supplements are now like a handful a day. Takes me about 10 minutes to get it all down the trough. But I do think that's probably maybe 3 or 4 weeks. I've been really consistent with those. And I do feel I've whined on about being stiff for months and months and months. And it's going. It's definitely going. So I do feel much better. So sorry, bit of a low, but I carried on. talk myself through it, talk to people, feel much better, realize that it doesn't matter what you look like. It's about what's in here, what's in the heart, and what's up here.
Obviously, I don't enjoy hearing you struggle like that, but it's good that it kind of turned around.
And really important that I always want to be really positive, but it's kind of hard. I always want to be a really positive role model for my athletes, for the people that listen to this, for my kids, especially my little girl. She came to me feeling like this, it would upset me. And so, but we all do feel like this sometimes, and you just need to sometimes just tell your mates, and your mates will go, "Oh my God!" And then one mate took her. We'd taken pictures on top of the mountain, and then she'd circled all the bits of herself that she called different names of all the pictures. I like that. I thought that was fun. Anyway, good. Starting to feel good. One more week of training. The kids have got like a mini half term. There's more days off.
Okay.
We can do it, Gary. We can do it.
We're in there. It's amazing, all these supplements, though. I didn't mention creatine as soon as I started taking it, but as soon as I did, and then it filters onto the Facebook group, and it's like,
the people are all over it.
Quite a few people are taking creatine too, and obviously the collagen. Yeah, it's pretty wild, but it's good to hear that it's making your joints not ache as much. I'm not aching when I'm getting out of bed, but if I sit down for 20 minutes and I stand up, still a bit
That's
achy.
just old age.
But the knee is
fine. My knees are much better.
But my nails, my skin, and my hair, obviously, I've not really noticed anything different. Gut health too. Gut health too with collagen.
I don't struggle with it's pretty functional. My gut. Anyway, let's go. Brew with the coaches. What do we got this week?
Question this week comes from Kevin Bloy, and he's struggling with shin splints. It's interesting, this, because my experience of shin splints is when I first took running seriously, it was as if my body was trying to catch up with my cardiovascular system.
Yeah, it's very
so
common.
I don't know where Kevin is in his running journey, but really interesting subject, and hopefully this helps, Kevin. This week's Brew with the Coaches question comes from Kevin Bloy. Do you have any advice for shin splints? I'm trying to rehab, but keep doing 3 to 4 miles easy every second day. Is this advisable? I've been running for 14 years. I'm 56, completed quite a few marathons and ultras. Just a little bit of extra info. Kevin was only back to regular running after 18 months of Achilles issues, and think I may have overdone it with a few longer lakes days distance vert-wise, which has brought them on. Yeah, straight to the doctor.
Doctor.
Okay. Hi, Kevin. Essentially, shin splints is a term that we don't use in the sort of medical field anymore because it's not very helpful in terms of describing what's going on. So the term that sort of got superseded it, long medial tibial stress syndrome. And that's more to emphasize that what we think is going on is a bone stress response in the tibia. So your shin bone at the front, sort of front inside of your leg, you'll get that sort of classic pain. And we think it's more to do with sort of bone stress. And bone stress injuries are a continuum from a little bit of unhappiness, bit of soreness, right through to stress fracture and major problems with it. So my first bit of advice is really get a diagnosis and see a physio, make sure there's nothing else more significant going on, and make sure that is what you're dealing with, MTSS, okay, or shin splints, lay term. So classic overuse injury. And I note from what you've said in your question, you've come back to running recently from another injury, and also maybe have done quite a lot of mileage increase. So we know usually these bone stress responses are in response to increasing load too quickly. And either that's mileage, intensity, terrain, all those sorts of things add to the load on the bone and the tissues around it. So that's probably why it's happened in your case. But there's other things that we need to think about as well. Sometimes things like vitamin D, other things going on in our bodies nutritionally makes us more prone to these things. So when we assess somebody who's got shin splints or MTSS, we would want to have a look at all of those things to make sure there's nothing else that we could do to improve the situation. I would not be doing a lot of impact activity running unless you have a diagnosis and you know where you are on that sort of bone stress continuum. And I think you could, if it's only 3 to 4 miles every other day, I think you could probably replace that with alternative cardio, as difficult as that is, but some bike work, that sort of thing, or lower intensity stuff, swimming, that sort of thing. So keep going fitness wise, but maybe step back on the impact until you've been able to see somebody who is able to make a diagnosis and help you with that rehab. And then all is not lost, even if that's the diagnosis. Obviously, it's easily rehabable. It's a really common injury and we get people back to running. But I think it's probably just being a bit more mindful in the build-up when you do start that running again, and making sure that's on the back of a lot of strength work and work to increase the capacity of those tissues. So it's probably just a bit too much, a bit too soon, but all is not lost. It's rehabable, but find out where you are, find out how bad it is. Hopefully, if it's mild, it's easily sort of remediable with a bit more thought into that training increase.
Russell, as a coach, you must see this guy is screaming out for a little coaching plan that, do you think, just needs to be a little bit more thoughtful about his build up maybe?
Like Rebecca said, all's not lost and there's plenty of stuff you can do. I think she's right though. If it could be a bone issue, you want to get it looked at by a professional. Normally with muscles, you can get away with a bit of self-diagnosis, probably not much, but a little bit more. But with bones, you want to get that checked out straight away, because if it is a stress reaction, or you can make it worse and not really know what's happening, and you just get trapped in a cycle. This is our major hobby. This is the thing that we love doing. So you can splash out 70 quid now and save yourself months of misery. It's money well spent. That would be my advice. But then, yeah, like Eddie says, it's about putting a really sensible schedule in place, what you can do, and focus on what you can do. This is one of Eddie's favorite phrases I'm stealing there. But some things that I find that really help, like the squat motion. I don't know if Rebecca would agree, but usually, because there's no impact, there's no vibration, you can really start to make your running specific muscles stronger in this period when you're not actually able to run. So I like kettlebells because they force you to stabilize. Kettlebell, single leg, Romanian deadlifts, just goblet squats, just getting that strength in the area all around, especially the hip joint, so that when you come back, you feel like, I'm going to come back stronger and I'm going to nail this and get onto that positive mental attitude, because then it is going to help you through this process. It's going to come up again. This is going to be your only setback. So dealing with this one with a positive mindset is going to set you up better for next time.
You'd assume with the Achilles issue previously, probably calf capacity is pretty good, but maybe just neglected looking at the front of the leg as well. So the muscles there that pick our feet upwards and point our toes towards us, looking at muscles there and whether or not there's imbalances. So the calf's pretty strong, but actually the ankle dorsiflexion position is the thing that's been neglected. So some exercises for that might really help as well, assuming they've kept on top of all their calf work.
Do you recommend people to go to an osteopath or a chiropractor, Rebecca, if they are having ongoing lower limb issues, in case the joints are not working perhaps the way that they should, or looking at the whole body as well, the hips, the pelvis?
What I would usually say is a good sports physiotherapist, because they will look at everything to do with the running movement. So you always look at joint above, you look at back, you look at ankle if you're looking at a lower leg issue. So you would look at the whole chain. So good sports physio and someone who is used to rehabbing athletes or recreational runners or whatever, but and someone who deals with sports people because they're used to talking in terms of training load and that sort of thing. And
all Kevin's going to be asking is, when can I run? When can I run?
Yeah, exactly. So and they will. That's that's the reason we do this job, is to keep people in sport and doing the things they want to do. So I would say sports physio is the way to go to get the diagnosis. There's roles for those other types of things that you've mentioned,
perhaps further down once you've seen someone. Yeah, they might say.
But I think because I think also it leads into that sort of self-management from an early stage as well. Hopefully you won't have to see the physio too many times, but get a diagnosis, get a plan, have a review, and hopefully it's things that you can do to self-manage thereafter. As we all know, as we get older, when we run, there's lots of things that we just need to keep on top of. So I think getting it right first time, as Russ says, is really important. Is you getting that diagnosis and get started in the right way, so it doesn't become a chronic issue.
I completely get that. It's really difficult trying to, previously I found it very difficult to stop. And I think that's the biggest thing when you get an injury, is just to take the rest. Now I'd say to myself, take the rest. So, if you are having issues, stop, figure it out, get on the bike. And with shin splints, you can get on the bike, and that makes a massive difference. There's some really, really fantastic athletes out there. Anna Troop, for one, she does a huge amount of bike work, and she's awesome, absolutely awesome. And she's not out there smashing miles and miles and miles every day. She does a huge amount of bike work. So you can still be fantastic and not do as much running. So definitely sort it out, go see someone. But in the meantime, you can get on the bike and keep your CV up, and it shouldn't make that much of a difference.
I love Trish's. Yeah, just find something else. Suck it up, get on with it. Let's go. Yeah. Come on, Kevin. We've got races to get to.
I love that. Thanks, everybody. I absolutely love Brew the Coaches. And now we've got Rebecca on board.
Rebecca's bringing such a professionalism to this. What was a rowdy bunch of
it was chaos before, Rebecca.
Chaos. And the language, Russell's like, it's like we're with the teacher. Russell's on his best behaviour.
You want to go through that again, Eddie?
Well, let us know how you get on, Kevin. Thanks for your question. We've had a run of strong, inspirational women on the podcast of late, Eddie, and we've got another one today. Bev Tucker completed the 2022 Dragons Back race, and she's going back this year as a volunteer. It was really kind of Bev to share her story. I feel a bit of pressure now because I hope I can share my Dragons Back race story as well as Bev does. Yeah, I hope you enjoy our chat with Bev Tucker. Hi, Bev. Thanks for joining us today on the Tea and Trails podcast. The first question we ask all of our guests is, where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for a run or maybe walk today?
Bore da. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to the show. Yes, I'm sitting here in my house looking at the garden, the view. The cherry blossoms out. It's very pink out there, and it's actually sunny weather, so it's a beautiful day. I haven't been for a run today because I'm injured at the moment. I've broken my wrist, but I'll be back on the hills, hopefully in 6 weeks. And I'm doing quite a lot of walking at the moment with the dogs. So yeah, it's not all bad. My heart rate variability is green at the moment because I'm having all this rest, and my resting pulse has come down 10 beats since I've broken my arm. So
oh wow!
Rather than rushing around all the time,
Did you see Kilian Jornet's HRV was 1 after his time in Nepal?
I did say that. Yeah. It's fascinating, all this HRV. I again, it was something new to me, but yeah, everyone we seem to speak to know all about the HRV. It's super fascinating. So yeah, what's the prognosis with your wrist? Sorry, Bev, you said about 6 weeks.
Yes, it's an impacted fracture. I had a collision with a horse in the field, and bones sort of went together. So yes, it was pulled by the doctor, the consultant, and we're hoping it'd be 6 to 8 weeks.
Is it your writing? Is it your dominant hand?
Yeah, it's my writing hand. So I'm having to learn to do everything with my left hand, which is interesting. From opening gates to zipping and jackets and writing. My writing's just a scrawl at the moment.
Bev, can you tell us a little bit about your background as a runner? How did you find mountains and trails? Have you always been a runner, or is it something that has come across later in life?
Yeah, I grew up in Port Talbot, and I was introduced to cross-country running in Form 1, which is Year 7, and had a really keen sort of supply teacher, who used to send us up the Bronville Valley with the whole class. And it was myself and one other girl. We used to run the full course around the reservoir, which was quite dangerous, really. It was very steep-sided with a lot of gorse bushes, and only 2 of us used to run around the whole course. And then all the others would join back in, as they do. They didn't want to run the whole way. I joined an athletics club, Port Talbot Harriers, and then loved running and ran for Welsh schools as a teenager. And
What was
went
your
to
distance of choice?
Well, I liked 3,000 meters. Yeah, and then I probably ran around 10 minutes for 3,000, and about 5K around, just close to 18 or just under. But yeah, I went to university in Loughborough, and I've trained with lots of great coaches in my life. Colin Daly, George Gandy, and, just so many great coaches who've coached internationals, who've been to the Olympics. So yeah, I grew up fully immersed in running, started road running and track and cross country throughout my 20s. After having children, had a bit of a break, came back, still did a bit of cross country, and did my first marathon about late 30s, age 37 in 2003. Which I loved, the London Marathon. I then moved to the Brecon Beacons, or Banau Brycheiniog, it's now called.
It is, yes. This is totally interrupting your lovely life story, but are they going to change all the signs and everything so we no longer call it the Brecon Beacons?
I think so. Yeah.
Can you tell me? Can you tell me how to pronounce the new Brecon?
Banau Brycheiniog. Brycheiniog is a bit of a in it to it.
Banau Brycheiniog. Oh, dear. Gary, don't try.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to try.
So yes, in my late 30s, I did the marathon in London, and then sort of started fell running. There was a great fell running scene in the Brecon and Abergavenny area, and we did things like the Winter Hill Series, the Summer Series, short races, which were great fun. It's a really welcoming, friendly community, and I did the Welsh Open, and even in 2019, I did the British as well, where I ran the Great Lakes race, and I seem to really enjoy the longer distances, the 20-mile fell races, which obviously needed a lot of navigation and endurance. And yeah, I always sort of went for the classic long fell races, the 1,000 meters race from the Conway Coast, Abergwyn Gredin, all the way to finish on Snowdon. The Brecon Beacons race is a brilliant 20-miler. Damon Hall ran it last year, and I ran in that race. And Black Mountains race, all the long ones. But I also went and trained for Dragon's Back. I tried to choose races which included a little bit of the course. I just found fell running was easier on the joints as you're getting older. I did a marathon in 2015 and in London, and ran about 3:29, which is really good. But
yes,
I struggled a lot after, and with kind of pain in the joints. So I was doing all my training on the hills, and never really overtrained, 30, 40 miles at the max, all my life really, until Dragon's Back. I've always enjoyed running. I've done a lot of coaching with Brecon Athletics Club, and I'm a member of Mynydd D Mountain Runners. So a lot of running with friends from doing recce's and also doing my long runs and races with Mynydd D.
When did you first hear about Dragon's Back? Did you sort of start, you were talking about increasing your distance and enjoying running a bit longer. Had you dipped your toe into the ultra world then, or was Dragon's Back sort of your first foray into that? Because you said it almost goes past your door too.
Yeah, I'd read about Dragon's Back in Feet in the Clouds. I love reading, and I was really inspired by the whole legendary race really, and all the iconic runners who'd competed, especially the race in 92 was won by a mixed pair with Alan Stone and Helen de Montes. So that was so inspirational reading that story. And actually in 1997 I'd been up on the Gliders with my son, who was only 1.5 at the time, and I saw Janet Street Porter coming past with a film crew, and she'd been doing the whole Cambrian Way from Kent all the way to North Wales, where she was born. And it was a TV series in the late 90s. And I loved watching her tackle those mountains in pretty horrible wet conditions. But she'd give me a wave on the Gliders as they went past. And it was quite incongruous because, there's nobody up there, and suddenly this film crew. And I just thought that's such a cool thing to do, to walk the whole length of Wales. And when I saw the Dragon's Back race film in 2021 on my father said, "Oh, have you seen this race? It's absolutely crazy. You know, they're running over Crib Goch. You know, you've got to watch it." He knew how much I loved fell running. So I searched for it on iPlayer, and then I was just mesmerised by the whole race. You know, the whole story with Katie Mills and Simon Roberts, Russell Bentley, and all the other athletes. You know, I had a thought, it might be I hadn't had a holiday for 3 years. So I thought, you know, that would be a perfect holiday for me.
Yeah.
Sort of navigating in the hills, eating, you know, a whole week away from, you know, all the chores, work, you know, the dog, the horses and everything.
Yeah.
And I just pressed the button, enter. I didn't really know much about the race, but in terms of the distances, until I started looking, thinking, gosh, it's 10,000 foot a day. It's 70 kilometres. I'd actually never done a multi-day before, or even an ultra race. I had done a challenge during lockdown called the South Wales Traverse. I think Damon Hall is the record holder at the moment, and Helen Brown, the female record holder. And I trained for that over 6 weeks and was pretty injured. It was straight after lockdown. I wasn't very fit. And I finished it in 30 hours, virtually kind of only supported leaving sandwiches up the road, and my husband popped up. He started it with me, but he had to drop out because he hurt his knee halfway. So I finished that in 30 hours, and it was 76 miles and about 20,000 foot of elevation. So it made me think, oh, well, I can probably do 2 days of the Dragon's Back, you know. I don't know what the third day will be like, but that was kind of my first dip into ultra running. We've got a hill near us called the Dragon's Back, and I thought I can run from my house 1,000 foot up the hill to Mynydd Gorse and keep going to the Dragon's Back, and then over to Penygada and Wainfach, and it's about 12 miles from the house, and then turn around, come back. And it was on one of those runs I was going through a gate, I bumped into a couple of walkers, and they asked me what I was training for, and I said, I'm training for the Dragon's Back. So I had a big pack on my back, and they said, oh, my daughter's training for the Dragon's Back. She's just moved down to here. So she was only 6 miles from me, and I met up with Claire Prosser every week. She was quite keen to hike. I mean, she's a mother of 2 and working, and she'd done the Bob Graham round, so she was a really good mountaineer and fell runner herself, and she didn't mind. She said, oh, hiking's good, we can hike a lot of it. And I just love those weekly, you know, catch-ups with Claire. She was being trained by Missing Link, so she was getting lots of great webinar with a lot of athletes who've done the
that's the Paul Tini, isn't it? Missing Link.
Yeah, that's right. And I knew that because of my age, I was 55, I was going to be, you know, I didn't want to overtrain. So every week I tried to increase my long run by, you know, 1 mile or even half a mile. And I started off, you know, with about 8 to 10 miles, and then, you know, gradually increased that distance.
But were you self-coached, or did you have a coach at this point, or did you ever get a coach?
Self-coached myself to start, wrote a sort of ultra running sort of runner's world schedule, and I was only really, because my dog was only 6 months, I was only going up the hill for an hour, 1,000 foot up every morning, and then doing the long run on the weekend. So I got timed out of a race in North Wales called Pedal Paris Horseshoe for the first time, and I think that made me think, well, you know, I've really got to focus on the navigation and get the elevation and the distance right. I enjoyed those weekly, you know, long runs in the hills. I was probably, you know, spending about 13 hours a week on my feet at that point. And then I started to really sort of doubt my you know, ability to do those long distance and, you know, within the cutoff times. So on the Facebook page with Dragon's Back, I started jumping in on recce's and meeting up with people in car parks, you know, complete strangers. And just, and really enjoying, you know, recceing part of the, you know, the course close to where I lived. I think we did day 3 part 2 in February and a part of day 5. And then I booked onto some Raw Adventures recce's in Easter with Kate Worthington, and those were fantastic. Over the Easter holidays, we recce'd all of day 1 and 2 and part of day 3. So
I imagine they really built the confidence too. Being amongst other people doing the event, you can kind of gauge yourself, I suppose, within that group. Yeah, did it help build your confidence?
Yes, we spent a lot of chatting about the course, and definitely confidence on day 1 in Crib Goch, because I think Crib Goch, it was quite cold that weekend in April, and there was a bit of snow on Crib Goch, and we wasn't sure whether we were going to go up because of the ice, but we did, and we had mountain instructors with us. Louise Beatleston, who's an MIC or WMCI, and she gave everyone so much confidence. There was a lot of, I'd been over Crib Goch probably 3 or 4 times in my life before that, but I'd always not really liked the exposure and the scrambling, the grade 1 gullies. I'd done quite a lot of scrambling and climbing with my husband over the years, because he's a mountaineer as well. But yeah, it was great being in that group, and there were quite a lot of dragons who were very nervous, but by the end of it, they were so relaxed. We were all smiling, taking photos in the sun, and it was brilliant. It gave you that confidence. And I think I met up with some dragons in the May half term, and we went over Crib Goch again in slightly more misty, windy conditions, which was a little bit more out of comfort zone, but it did really prepare you and make you believe that you could do this.
When you crossed Crib Goch in the race, were you fearful at all, or did you find actually you sort of went across it confidently?
I was very fearful, because one night it wasn't in a group, and I'd fallen on day 1 and sprained my wrist and hurt my rib. There was a bit of a wind up there. There was about 30 mile an hour wind, and there was a storm coming in. So I probably took 2 hours from Pen y Pass getting to Snowdon. I was the slowest dragon going across there, but I could only use the one hand, and I was obviously using all points I could use, my knees, my bottom, my elbows, but I got across, and I remember being passed by Jane Gould, and she said, "I'm loving this," and I thought, I wish I was loving it. But I was just really, if I hadn't hurt my wrist 3 hours into day 1, I think I would have really enjoyed the ridge that day. And there were a couple of guys behind me who'd never been up there, and I said, just drop off on the left-hand side and use it as a handrail, and they all got across. Worried about the third pinnacle, and the actual, going up the rock band. I saw my husband, he was right by the rock band, and I said, I've hurt my hand, I can't do this. He said, you'll be fine, he said, and he just took some photos, and it didn't realize, I'd taken probably 2 grams of paracetamol and had a sticky bandage on my hand at that point, and the medics had checked me over as well. And so we don't think it's broken, but I'd actually broken the 5th metacarpal just on the joint, really, just chipped the joint, and my compass had gone into my ribs, so when I breathed in, it was just like a sharp pain. But I was used to dealing with pain, because exactly a year ago, tacked up the horse thinking I was going to have a little ride around the paddock, because I was doing so much training. I hadn't been doing any riding, and the horse gets a bit feral and a bit wild if you don't ride her. And she didn't want to be ridden that day. It was Friday the 13th, and the wind picked up, and she just leapt up in the air, landed on my toe, and broke my pinky toe. And it was really angry and red. I didn't know I'd fractured it at the time, but I did the big Black Mountains Challenge the next day with Claire for
oh my goodness.
And that was 50k hobbling, had to let Claire go, but I finished it in about 8 hours, and 2 weeks later I'd entered the Welsh 1,000 metre race. So I really wanted to do that as a benchmark, so I hadn't run it for 3 years, and I wanted to see how my training was going. I ran it with the toes taped up. I finished exactly the same time as I did in 2018. So I thought, oh gosh, my training's going well. I've done this with this angry toe. And the next day we went and did the Cribgo Horseshoe with some of the dragons, John, Migsy, two Pauls, Tall Paul, Dentist Paul, Sam. And that was the day it was all misty and windy, and they left me for dust because my toe. But not to be discouraged. The next day, my husband drove me to the Cwmbachen, and we did a route between Cwmbachen and the two Rhinogs, just looking at different lines and seeing if there was a better line in case my knee went or something.
I like the way, you sort of thought you recce'd a lot. And so you probably gave yourself more time by knowing where you were going and looking at the lines and stuff, so that when it came to the cutoffs and things, because especially the first few days on Dragon's Back, the cutoffs are you got to keep moving, haven't you, to get through those cutoffs. Did that sort of scare you? Did you do much research into that, or were you quite like, as long as I keep moving and I don't break any more bones, I'm going to do this?
I think that was my main fear, really, was not making the cutoffs. I knew I'd recce'd it with Claire Prosser as well as Road Ventures, and we'd done about 30 miles from the start to the forest before the road, really. And we were, we were 13 and a half hours on just one single day. By recceing it, you had confidence knowing that if I could get to the Rhinog Fach, that next section, you would start to get closer
Slightly,
to the guide time, or start getting money minutes in the bank.
And money in the bank too.
Minutes in the bank. So I reckon you kind of direct from Vow to Vach and through the hole in the wall, but I didn't do that on the day. I just went the normal Dragon's Back route, but we did go down this really steep gully in a horrific storm with hailstones and wind and so much water running down. And I think it took me, an hour and a half to descend that gully with my hand. But I knew that, after the Rhinogs, there was going to be less technical descending, scrambling. The first day, I was worried about the cut-offs, but then Shane Oley brought the race an hour forward. So we started at 6. So we left, running from the castle into dawn, which is brilliant, but it gave everybody an extra hour. So, the cut-offs on day one were, a lot easier than day 2. I knew day 2 was going to be more of a challenge because, the terrain, is such a long way, and the landscape is kind of the roughest and toughest terrain, anywhere in Wales, really. The Rhinogs, there's lots of different route choices. And if you watch all the films, people do alternate routes. And I did the Road Ventures, they did talk about different lines and fell running lines. And I made a decision when I got to Cwmbachen. I think Trish Patterson was cheering me on, and she said, "Don't sit down, grab your food." We've only got 20 minutes and the weather's going to get worse. So she was brilliant. I was only 11 minutes, I think, from the coming off the hill to getting going again. I'd gone up to 35th in the race at that point, just by not sitting down, in that.
This is Gary. Note this.
Sometimes it's better to sit down and eat a bit more, or go into a shop and get food, than it is just to try and be the fastest through the, like a Formula One pit stop, and off you go. But I had 2 American runners with me, and I said to them, "Do you fancy doing a different route and going off the Roman steps? And when you got to the wall, going up the bank probably save you about 0.4 of a mile." I wouldn't have done it if I was on my own because of my hand, but because they were with me, they said, "Yeah, we don't mind climbing, we don't mind scrambling." So I took a little bit of a shortcut, and then when I got to Rhinog Fach, we were on guide time, by about 5 minutes. So so that I definitely saved me 10 minutes, because I sent Claire on the Roman steps, and she's a faster runner than me, and I went the Sabrina Vergy cut-off, which I think Simon Roberts and James Noble goes. And I got to the summit like 10 minutes ahead of her, and she said, "Oh, well, I got lost." And I said, "No, I think it's shorter this way."
I think this is, for me, maybe in an international racer. I could do a recce. I could even maybe recce the whole course once, take a week off work and do it. Well, that's probably the length of the race. Maybe I'll take 10 days off work and do it.
I was going to say,
But on Saturday, I went over to the lakes and I did a recce for a race that I'm doing next Saturday. And even doing that, I've done the races for my third time doing the race. I've recce'd it loads. And even then, different weather conditions, I'm 10 feet off the line, and then you see the ground's completely different. So
definitely, every day's different. And, if you've got low clouds and that can, really change, be a game changer. But I
think being confident with your nav is probably the most important thing. Doesn't matter where you practice it, is practicing navigation in all sorts of conditions and taking care of yourself in the mountains. If you can't be on the course, those will tick massive boxes. Making good decisions.
Well, make a decision and own it and go with it. And it may be 250 meters longer, but if you're there 5 minutes debating that decision, then you've lost that time anyway. So you might as well just be confident.
How did the rest of the days go, Bev? Because I know the first couple of days are very technical, and then you change terrain quite drastically, don't you? How did you find? You obviously got ahead of the cutoffs, and then how did you find the sort of latter end of the race?
Obviously, the first day was probably my fastest, and did about 13 hours. Second day, I was only 10 minutes from the finish. I finished at like 9:45 on day 2.
How is that then when you come into the camp and it's late and you've got to turn around, you've got to eat, you've got to do your admin, and then you've got to be up early again? How was your morale?
I mean, day 1, when I woke up, I couldn't sleep on my back because of my rib. I could only sleep on one side. And I was really struggling to pack my bag with one hand, to take all the air out of the mattress. So I was a little bit late starting on day 2, and I thought I'd blown it. I thought I need the full 16 hours, and I'd been faffing, and I left about 5-6 minutes past 6, and then I'd stop and take my jacket off or something. So I wasted a bit of time there. But coming in late, it was pretty normal camp life on the first day. The second day when I came in, greeted you, the volunteers were amazing. They took your bag off you, you went to your tent, you then put on some warm clothing, went straight to the kitchen, which is a chat, and you were given like a rehydrated meal, apple crumble or something, and I think we had lentil hot pot or something the first day, but there was hardly anybody around because a lot of people I'd either been timed out or there wasn't anybody in the tent to talk to. So once they switched the machines off, it was a very quiet camp. I found the camps in the evening, there was usually only 1 or 2 athletes finishing late. You could chat to in the dining tent, and I wish like Shane had sort of numbered the pods, because you'd know like who was in which pod then, because I was like, who do I sleep with? I tried to sleep in the middle. I think it was wet on day 2, and I think I managed to go to the drying tent, put all my stuff, try and like stick it on this washing line because everything was full, and charge my head torch and things, and but when I got in there, I was just sitting there and thinking, gosh, I don't want to wake anyone up, and eventually sort of got into my bag, and then was really uncomfortable, so I've had to like massage my muscles, and wasn't getting a lot of sleep at all really, and then wanted to like drink and eat, so I was probably disturbing people coming in late, and really conscious that I didn't want to wake people up.
Did you have a full tent all week, or was it as the week went on? Were you losing your kind of tent mates?
We did lose 1 or 2, because of injuries. They couldn't carry on. By the end of it, we had 5.
That's good.
So we never really had. I always had to be the one sharing a pod. I didn't have a pod to myself, and I was listening to other people who were at the back of the pack, and they were saying that they had a pod to themselves, and they had people putting their mats out ready for them to come in, and so the girls did that as well, and they were amazing in the morning. They did help me unscrew bottles. Claire dragged my bag to the kit check on the first day because I couldn't my hand was really black and blue and swollen at that point. So
I think it's good to paint the picture of realism in these multi days, that you see the social media videos and everything, and you see like, and you do make amazing friendships and you have amazing moments with people, but there is a lot of time, as you said, when you are quite lonely and you are on your own and you're being so self-sufficient, and it feels quite endless, and you've worked all day to get back in the camp. You get back in the camp and it's wet and it's cold and everyone's asleep, and you're like,
super quiet.
oh, and it's quiet, and then you can't sleep, but everybody's in the same boat.
But the front runners will like have a complete different memory of that event, because they'll have a bit of a buzz. Everything will be open. Any tips, Bev? I'm going to be fully immersed in camp life. Any tips for me and other dragons?
I had an inflatable pillow, which I didn't use, but I used it for my feet.
Pillow.
I just sort of raised my legs, and that kind of helped with recovery. I didn't pack my bag every night because it was too late, so I'll do my bottles. So I had to do that in the morning, and in the morning I made sure that I didn't have any blisters. I put in a bit of tape on. Yeah, I put trench foot cream on, and I didn't.
Oh wow, yeah, good old trench foot cream.
I was pretty happy about that. My legs were fine, and my feet were fine, and it was because I'd done quite a lot of training throughout the year. I built up gradually, and even though I had the broken toe, I did then doubt my ability to get to the cutoff. So I made the decision to get an online coach, and that really, really helped with just motivation, having somebody set sessions, tweaking your training. So you were doing, in August I was on a taper, but I was doing a little bit more speed work within the runs, and the training was different. I was really pleased with just the last 3 months. But for the camp, there are lots of things I wanted to do. I wanted to take paper plates in so I could have my breakfast and then put them in the bin, and then get to the kit check earlier, but I couldn't fit them in my bag. I lost my food box, so every night they just gave me a paper plate with, and as you say, you couldn't find your spork most days either, but
spork around your neck, Gary, on a bit of cord, and then you tuck it in, it's always there.
I did have a little bag with spare head torch and all, your toothbrush and everything to walk around as soon as you'd finished. But it was so dark when you come in, and I meant to go to the river every day, but because of the broken arm, I didn't actually get to the river for a wash until Randamoyne, which I went there at 2 a.m. and sat in the river, and was holding onto a tree, thinking I don't want to get sort of washed away on day 4 of the Dragon's Back, but I'm really glad I went in the river, because I wouldn't have got through day 5. I was starting to swell, and my ankles were starting to swell. The main tip is getting the best hydration and nutrition. The volunteers were great. They got you straight through to get some food, and a lot of the time I did have like the munchies in the middle of the night, where I'd start eating like a squashed quiche I bought in the shop.
Oh, that sounds lovely. I love a squash.
That was on day 5, I think, and any food I hadn't eaten the day before. So it's probably really annoying for the rest of the tent mates that I was coming in late.
Don't think. No, it's part
I've already been warned about snoring in our tent.
Yeah, it's part of the race. When did you think, Bev, I'm going to do this? I'm going to finish this? Did you always have that mindset, or as you went through the days, did your sort of confidence grow?
Yeah, I always tried to sort of turn a negative into a positive. So when I hurt the arm, I just thought, well, maybe I'm not going to trash my legs running down the hill on day 1 and go a bit slower. So, that might help. And I think I didn't really, I was just taking each day as it came, at one checkpoint at a time, 1 foot at a time. I was just quite surprised every day to actually make it and survive each day. And I think when I got to about day 4, I thought, yes, I'm gonna do this. But then I think day 5 was a shock to the system, because I run out of energy between the support point. I got to Cray Reservoir in good time. I was probably 45 minutes up on the cutoff. but my tracker wasn't working. And then they couldn't find my bag because
They didn't know you were coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't know I was coming in. So, I saw this dragon running around the back of the tent with my bag, and Trish shouted, "That's Bev's bag!" And I had my poles in there. I really needed
Trish is everywhere.
and my food, really. That central beacon section went really well, but I really started suffering, and everybody went past. I was going, "Have you got any rennies? Have you got any sugar?" And one guy gave me some rennies, and he said, "Oh, if you need any more, tent 7, we've got a,
There's your supplier, tent 7.
Yeah, and then somebody else gave me an Anadin extra because I actually hadn't packed my paracetamol that day. And then Caroline Holmes from Lake District, she gave me half a Kit Kat, which really boosted me, So yeah, they were brilliant. I had somebody else gave me some savoury snacks on day 4 because
I love camp-led currency.
I love the exchange of snacks. I remember that so well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had pepperami, and I've been a vegetarian for years, but I just
it's fine. It doesn't count on these long races. No,
it's amazing. How many
count.
vegans? I think on the Spine race, there was lots of vegans eating meat and chat at Middleton. Something happens mid-race. Yeah. Did you have a favourite day?
Yeah, probably day 1, even though I hurt my arm and it went a bit desperate after I fell over. Just starting, in Conwy Castle with all the battlements and the male voice choir was really emotional, and just felt amazing to actually be on the starting line because I didn't know whether my toe would heal. It took like 10 weeks to heal.
Incredible.
2 weeks before, I didn't know whether I was going to pull out or not. And yeah, it was just amazing running, on the castle walls and taking care because of my toe, and then it was a pink dawn going up into the Carneddau, and all the dragons were just chatting and everybody was happy, and I love going up to Tryfan and the Gliders, run it so many times with the 1,000-meter race, and it was great camaraderie on, when you came in, you were just in your element, just so
everyone has energy as well on that first day and first night, so much energy which slowly.
How do you keep a lid on it though? I think I'll be on the start line at the Great North Run. I'll probably cry every year when I'm reading people's stories on the back of their vests, but I imagine trying to just keep myself 10% calmer than what I would normally be on that start line. How do you do that? I don't know. I saw the video. I've been watching lots of videos. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't. It wasn't like a race, really. It was just like an uphill, week-long training run challenge against your head, really.
Yeah.
And I mean, day 2. I love day 2. When we went up Cnicht, and it was absolutely beautiful, the view, from Cnicht. You just, absolutely spectacular scenery. And then you go over the Moelwens, and I knew the Moelwens really well. And the Rhinogs were a bit desperate because of the storm, the hailstones in September, and you were putting waterproofs on and then taking them off. But you just, the groups you met up with seem to change a lot because you can't run at people's pace. You have to run at your own pace, and sometimes they'd go ahead. Day 3 was amazing. I remember Laurie said to me, she said, "Don't worry about day 3. Everyone's hurting by this point. Just get going. Your legs will be fine." And I remember going up Caderidris, and I just felt like I'm really in this race. I left at 6 o'clock, and I had lots of company around me, and then I saw Laurie on the way back down by near the pony path, and I was just like waving to her, and I just tripped over and fell and did this tumble. And a runner came past me and said, "Oh, good recovery." And then I thought, "Come on, Bev, I've got to stop falling." I had about 6 face plants in the whole.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Going up then towards the Tarrans, I think I choked on a peanut butter sandwich, and this runner came past me and nearly had to give me the Heimlich manoeuvre.
Oh, wow.
I was there 5 minutes.
I don't ever want to run with you or near you or around you.
It's all going on, yeah.
I then ended up eating like a whole packet of shot blocks, which actually dislodged the peanut and carried on. Yeah, I mean, it was all epic, and
you make it epic, Bev. If anyone wants an epic day out, head off with Bev. What did it feel like then to reach the finish line? How did that feel when you?
Well, by that point, I'd gone wrong in
no. What's the story?
Woods. Well, I'd started at day 6 at 7:15. Everybody had gone, the whole field. I couldn't get my shoes on, so I had to put my old shoes, my old trail fires with holes in the where the bunions are, and the widest things possible. And I was in the medical tent, had it all strapped up, and I left. Everybody had gone at 6, and I left at 7:15. I started to get a bit of shin pain at that point, so they taped up my shins, and couldn't see anyone in the race, and I was on my own for about 2-3 hours until I got to the first checkpoint, where I decided to take a shortcut through the ferns. And I got to the top, and the marshal said, "Where did you come from?" And I said, "Well, I just straight lined this, saw this path, and I thought it was the top, and it was like 3 hidden summits. But I got to it used to be like a ski slope, top of Merthyr, and he said, "Well, you've done well because you're on guide time now." And I could see like the hat of Lenny and Barry ahead of me, and I thought, right, I've got to catch them. I spent a lot of time with them on day 5, desperately trying to get through day 5 when my watch had died, and we were coming off the vans in the dark, and I didn't know how long I had to the finish, but I could hear just grunts. The runners were just grunting at that point, not talking. But Lenny and Barry were Lenny had done the Dragon's Back before, in 2019 and finished. But I then realised I'd lost my map in the ferns. And I got to Nelson, and I said, "I've lost my map." And he said, and little Dave, I think he was in the dragon outfit, said, "Well, it's mandatory kit." He said, "I'll go and see if I can find one in the car and van." And he came out and gave me another map, which was lovely. I needed that because I had a watch which seemed as like the battery only lasted about 10, 11 hours each day. And I needed that map. I got to the next checkpoint, which was at a pub, and got some more sandwiches and a drink, and then headed off into Castlecourt. And I thought, I'm going to do this now. 6 o'clock, I've made the cut-off. I've only got 10 miles to go, or 10 kilometres, whatever. I took a wrong turn. I ended up on the Taff Trail down towards Tongwynlais. I looked at my watch and realised that there was another red line parallel to where I should have been. I should have turned off left up the hill. I panicked. I thought, gosh, it looks about a mile to go back. I'm not going to complete. So I decided to take another shortcut. It started off as a nice little path. But then it came about 400 metres of brambles and stinging nettles. And the thought of going back.
Yeah, you were like, I'm committed. I'm going to carry on this. Yeah.
Did you listen to the ARC, though? The ARC podcast that we did? There was a bramble guy. Somebody got stuck in the brambles. You could have been Bramble Bev.
And I started shouting, "Help!" and thinking Lenny or Barry might hear me, but nobody heard me. And I was so angry with myself and frustrated. And anyway, I managed to trash my way through all these brambles, and I popped out on the right trail again. But I had kind of blood running all down my legs. I tried using a bit of water to wash it off, but it just didn't bother. So when I got on the Taff Trail, members of the public were looking at me and they're saying, "I'm a nurse. Do you need any medical attention? What's wrong with you?"
And you were like, "There's a list. I don't have time."
But I think, day 6 was amazing because a lot of the fell runners from local clubs came out to cheer me on. And,
wonderful.
I was so grateful because there was a lot of time I was on my own, and when they popped up to cheer on, it just lifted me. And a lot of times I didn't think I was going to make it because there'd been a diversion and you suddenly gone off the tracker, and the distance seems to be getting further instead of less towards Cardiff. Then once you got back on the tracker, it was fine. A couple of runners from NDC, they had a WhatsApp group, and they said, "Oh, we were following 5 people and you're the last one standing, so we've come to support you."
Yay.
And it was getting dark at this point, and I think race control had seen that I'd gone wrong, and there were a few athletes out there really struggling, so they were trying to put somebody to walk near in case people were just so delirious they fall in the river path or something. So Gary Davis had run the Dragon's Back before, and I think he's going to do it in
What, the DJ Gary Davis? Or?
No, he's a race organizer.
Ooh, Gary Davis.
From NDC, and he walked a bit of the trail with me, and well right to the finish. And he rang race control, and they said, "Yeah, that's fine. You can walk with her." Yeah, I knew I was going to do it then, but every day I wasn't sure how far I'd get. It was like a true adventure, because it was the unknown, really. You don't know how your body's going to cope with 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. So yeah, it's a true challenge, and I think that's what attracted me to the event.
You not only did it on speed, you did the challenge plus broken. No one can complain about this now. Broken toe, broken hand, Bramble Gully. I see that you're volunteering in 2023. Is that right? Are you going?
Yes.
Does that mean you want to go back for more, or do you just want to give back?
Yeah,
I'm spirit of that.
Because I was so grateful to the volunteers. The people at the support point, they just lift you. They're all dressed up in wigs and dragon outfits, and just people have supported me every evening. Like Sian Davis, she gave me tea, and yeah, she was amazing. And just they had a mantra every time I came in. The volunteers, they were saying, "You're our favourite. We've got a hashtag for you, be more Bev," and they were all shouting, "Be more Bev," and I was coming in, and it was just
the name
wonderful.
of the podcast.
Yeah,
Be more Bev.
Yeah, so I actually saw Trish Patterson, and she was training. She had it running with Zoe Murphy, who run Dragon's Back, and I was running about a month ago, and when they saw me in the car park, I was with the dog. They went, "Be more Bev, we were thinking about you," because they were training some of the girls who were going to be some of the volunteers and participants for this year, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, you've got to be." Yeah, they must have told
I
them
think
my
people
story.
can take a big leaf out of your book, Bev, of your incredible resilience and positivity throughout everything. Lots of people, and we know lots of people in Dragon's Back. It's the cutoffs are tight. If something goes wrong, it's really hard to come back. And so many things did go wrong, and you did pull it back. And I know that you will now volunteer and try and help.
There is a real culture of people volunteering and racing. The Spine race, the Dragon's Back race. Yeah. I can stick my hand up. I absolutely loved my 3 days at Middleton. It was just magical, really, really magic. I can't wait to meet you, Bev. That'd be going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, I was amazing. Listening to your spine journey, that was really inspirational. And yeah,
will you do it again, Bev? Will you do the Dragon's Back again?
Part of me thinks I'd love to do it again, because I might get a better experience. I've learned from all my mistakes, and I wouldn't even mind if it was the hatchling course. Just completing that journey again. It was the best year. The people you met, friends you made for life, on the recce's, Claire, Jane and Nicola, and just all the guys, met. They were all so helpful. The WhatsApp group with Raw Adventures,
sometimes the preparation for the journey is just as important as the actual journey.
I was unsure about the hatchling when I first heard about it, but if it allows people to carry on the adventure, then I think, it's going to be...
Especially if they blow your mat up in your tent before you come back. And,
anything coming up, Bev?
Early and be able to have like chips and snacks.
I honestly, I have such admiration for you.
Yeah, I mean, day 2, I did 15 hours 31, day 3, 15:24, day 4.
Long days out.
Day 5, 15 hours 44, so close to being timed out there, because I left at 6:10 on day 5. That was really stupid of me. But it was really hard. And I mean, the last day I did 13:29, so actually I was getting a little bit faster because you haven't got
bit quicker,
so much
yeah.
That's because you took the shortcut through the brambles. Super easy, just straight lines.
Well, that absolutely tortured me after it. And I looked at all the rules, and it said if you just want to finish the journey and you don't actually gain anything from,
I don't think no one would call you up on that. That wasn't a shortcut. You didn't gain anything apart from terrible injuries.
Well, there was another mistake on day 4 when I came off Dragonvar and headed for the dead tree, down through the Abergwessin forest, and I was with a runner called Jason Stobbs, and I hadn't put the right GPX file on my watch. I had the year before, and I didn't realise that the course had changed. And I was reckoning that last year's route, which was a footpath, but they had changed it for some reason, and it was down a forestry track. But quite a few people did that last year's line instead, so they didn't penalise me with a time penalty that day. I remember coming out of the woods there, and you go around the back of this farm, and all these dogs are sort of like chained up, and they start barking. There was a massive bird sitting on the fence, and no lie, I'm sure it was a golden eagle. It was, I love birds and wildlife and nature, but it was a lot bigger than a kite or just looking at me, and because I was struggling that day, to stay awake on my feet. I mean, I spoke to Jason afterwards and said, "Was that an eagle?" And he said, "Yeah, it was an eagle." And I think, well, maybe it was a nomadic golden eagle, and it was flying around. But yeah, day 4 was the the sad day that the Queen had passed away, and we didn't know whether the race was going to continue.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, we had an amazing bog after that, where you nearly lost everything: your shoes, your map, your poles, and everyone. We had a lot of rain that day, and it just everyone got stuck in that bog before the tarmac down into Randamoyne. It's about 10 kilometres of tarmac, but I always used to run onto the grass on the side of the road and just shuffle. I always looked for, I didn't want to trash my legs, and I think that, and so many people suffered with their shins and didn't finish. And I mean, I'd taken a lot of supplements, in terms of glucosamine, chondroitin, and collagen, and turmeric and all that, because my joints were, quite creaky at age 55 when I started the journey, and I had a bit of a sore knee. But actually I got stronger throughout the year, and my knee cleared up, and all the supplements seemed to help, just eating lots of avocados and yeah. But there's lots of little things you have to really know your body and be able to problem solve, in the training and during the race.
Amazing achievement.
Yeah.
I know that lots of people, even that have gone on and done other things and talk about the Dragon's Back race as just such a overcoming, conquering not only that whole incredible route, but themselves as well, the journey with themselves of the battle of the brain and the body and how far you can push yourself. I love that too.
See, problem
I look
solve.
forward to, I can't wait for first-hand #BeMoreBev back from I'm going to get your number, Bev, and you can give me live updates from Gary's whining every day at Dragon's Back. But we mustn't keep you chatting any longer, but thank you so much for sharing your journey. It's only a snippet of your journey, but we will post Bev's blog, which is amazing. So if you want to read more about Bev and her incredible ultra running journey, but we won't let you go because obviously we must finish with the quick 5 and just glean the last little bits of incredible information from #BeMoreBev.
I love that. You said problem solve. It comes up time and time again. If you can solve a problem instead of having a hissy fit, you're probably going to have a much more successful race.
You're so much stronger than you think you are, and you can achieve so much more if you just have that positive mindset and really dig deep.
There's always deeper to go. Like people think that's it, I'm done.
Well, the central governor, doesn't it? The brain.
There's more. You only stop when you're dead. You can keep going. You hear of like, people say I didn't drink for 2 hours. I'm like, that's fine. You're fine. Keep going. You got 2 days in you. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, finishing was amazing. Just it was dark. It was the whole family were there, and I didn't really care much about the baby dragon at that point. I just wanted to finish. I wanted to stop moving. But it's amazing to have the baby dragon. Here it is.
Hey,
there it is.
Oh.
Where does it live, Bev? Where does it live in your house normally?
Right next to my bed.
Yeah, it does. Little stroke.
Love it.
Yeah, maybe a cakewalk or something in the future.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it again.
Quick 5. Your favorite type of snack, would it be sweet or savory?
Yeah, probably savory. Yeah, I like pasties.
Wet quiche.
I was going to say pasty, wet quiche. Everything that's been mentioned has been cheese-based.
Avocados.
It's quite an expensive taste that Bev you've got going on. Pasty, avocado.
Do you have a favorite guilty TV pleasure?
I love watching Yola Williams and kind of bird programs.
That's not guilty. That's
I'm thinking of like Food Channel.
Like, oh, come on.
No,
Baywatch.
About this one. I watched Eurovision last night strictly. I won't watch, but yeah.
This is all highly educational in my guilty TV pleasure. But
you know what I love? There's a TV program on the Food Network, Diners, Drive-Through and Dives. So this guy just drives around America, just basically eating food in all these drive-throughs and diners. It's absolutely awesome. I love it. What would you do if you won £1 million?
Pay off the mortgage.
If you paid off the mortgage, then your life's your own, then, isn't it?
Yeah. Hopefully, just do something good with that. Maybe give something back. I've worked with disabled people for most of my life, 20 odd years. Giving something back, really.
It would be good. It would be good to give paid forward, give something back. It's Groundhog Day, and you're waking up for a race. If it was Groundhog Day, which race would you do over and over again?
Oh gosh, that's
a tough question, isn't it?
Yeah, I love the Black Mountains race because it's purely off-road, and it's about 17 miles circuit. From Lambeda, covering a lot of the Black Mountains. So that's a fantastic race. Any local races like Brecon Beacons race or
I love that.
The Welsh 1,000 meters is another classic one I love. Yeah.
Time in the mountains too.
Love running
and you
Wales.
can stay from home if you're stuck on Groundhog Day. You can be at home as well every day. You don't constantly have to go to America, run the Black Canyons, come home again.
Okay, you get the choice for the Instagram music when we share the podcast. What song is it going to be, Bev?
The first one comes to mind is Running Up the Hill by Kate Bush.
Oh, I love it.
It's a classic favourite.
Or even Peter Gabriel and Kate Bush with Don't Give Up. That one's
Don't give up, just keep going.
So any of those.
Okay. Well, I can't choose now because I like both those.
No, I know I like both of them, but a lot of the time when I was running on the trail, I'd be thinking.
Keep running up that hill. Keep running. Yeah, maybe that
both
one.
Both of those, super songs.
I love a bit of Kate Bush. What a voice! Wonder what happened to her. She's quite Eurovision-y as well, isn't she?
I think she's probably loving her life and living off, I think, was it Stranger Things when they made a song popular again? Introduced a whole new generation of ears. So, I think she's probably having a wonderful time wherever she lives. Well, thanks for today, Bev. It's been a real treat. Wow, we chatted away for an hour here, and I think we could quite easily do another hour. There's so much to share. Thanks for your time.
Gary will be getting you on speed dial now for all the routes and choices. We look forward to the camp selfie every day as Gary becomes a smaller version of it. Well, thank you so much, Bev, for sharing your story, and we look forward to following your next adventures as well.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely to talk to you, and
and you.
great Dragons back, Gary. Yeah, good luck with your training.
Yeah,
enjoy it.
I'm winging it, Bev.
He's winging it. Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Let's get it re-trending. Hashtag be more Bev. Wow.
More
what
Bev.
Resilience and positivity. I love her story, and I hope it resonates with people. We often get comments about that. We talk to a lot of the front end of the pack and elite sports people. And honestly, guys, we'll talk to anyone who come on the podcast. But I loved hearing her story. Like, it is really tough, these events, if you are coming in later. She was coming in double the time she was spending on her feet than the front men in that. And that takes a lot of guts to keep going. She talks about camp life and things. So hopefully it will inspire people, perhaps of a certain age, certain sex, that think, I can't do stuff like that. You can. You can
do it.
Hashtag be more Bev.
This week over in Strava, we've got another familiar face. Top of the charts, Rafa again, 175 miles. And just to put it into some kind of context, that's an amazing amount of volume. But I have been doing a bit of Strava stalking on you, Rafa. And this morning's run, I can't remember the distance, apologies for that, but it was at 7:22-minute mile pace. I don't care who you are, that's ticking along quite nicely. But on the back of that kind of volume too is absolutely amazing. I just said to Eddie also, on his Strava profile, you see his weekly totals. And it's just amazing consistency. This isn't part of like a journey for a few weeks. He's been doing this for quite a long time. So I salute you, Rafa. I wonder why.
I think he has to let us know who he is, or we need to discredit him, because there's other people that underneath him are never going to get a chance on this Strava leaderboard. So I think we have to start filtering.
He's an enormous fan of Strava. You see, he's a member of many, many clubs. So he's a big Strava.
Get rid of him.
No.
Get rid of him.
But yeah, Rafa, reach out. I am really curious. Why are you running massive volume week on week? Marcus Marsden, 46 hours, 26 minutes and 37 seconds last week. That was basically made up by the UTS 100 miler. That just looked like such an amazing weekend. So many photographs, official photographs, and friends and family out on the trails taking snaps. Yeah, 46 hours. Well done, Marcus. That route and race just looked stunning and brutal in equal measures. Well done, everybody actually who towed the line over the weekend, no matter what they did. Biggest elevation of the week, Gemma Wollstonecroft, 70,341 feet. I wonder if she went on a flight and left her watch on.
Oh, I was like, so how would you get that? Like, you'd have to be, because the mileage would have to be massive too.
Yeah.
Gemma, come clean. What is that?
Strava's locked down. I can't check. But well done.
This week's Tales from the Trails, we have had a message from Susanna, which we thought we'd read out and have a little discussion about, because it's something we should talk about. And it might help people, especially perhaps those who, after found Snowdonia or any race this weekend, sudden heat or anything like that, quite tough. How do you recover from that? Hi, Edwina and Gary. First, I wanted to say how much I loved your last podcast. It was super informative and it really helped on my journey to hopefully becoming an ultra runner. I ran the 25k UTS race yesterday and my husband attempted the 50k. He ran it last year, no problem, but this year he DNF'd. A combination of not feeling too well in the morning before he set off and the horrendous heat. He's really beaten about it and struggling with it. I'm super happy that I finished mine, but it was just brutal out there with the heat. If you looked at the stats, so many people DNF'd in all the races. So I was just wondering if you could talk about DNF and how to recover mentally from it. Perhaps a question for the coaches. I'm sure many people who ran this weekend are in the same boat and appreciate it. Also, maybe talk about running in hot weather and how much you should be eating, drinking. I was definitely unprepared of it. Some of my food even melted. We might not have time for this week, but we could definitely save that one up for a brew with the coaches. Thanks, Susanna. Let's get into this. When we decided we're going to do this from Tales and Trails, Gary said, I've never DNF'd.
I've never DNF'd, Edwina.
That's his input into that. That's super helpful. Thank you. But don't worry, guys. I have quite a few times. So,
I've had races that haven't gone to plan, so maybe I can lean on some of that.
I
yeah,
think
luckily.
the big thing about not finishing a race is then, as Susanna alluded to, is the week after you feel really low, because obviously you've set your sights on something, you don't see yourself not finishing, and then the ultra running gods have conspired against you. And I bet this is honest, guys, we're always honest, 95% of DNFs, when you look back on it, you go, could have carried on. Should have carried on, could have carried on. Why didn't I carry on? And then as ultra runners, we're high performers. We spend a lot of time. We dedicate a lot of our time. We give up a lot of time. People also give up a lot of time to help and support us. So then we beat ourselves up about it for quite a few days after, going, I should have carried on. One thing I always say to people is give yourself a time slot to do that. I feel rubbish. I wish I'd finished. Let yourself sit with that for
I wouldn't enter anything.
2 days.
I would just chill.
Make no big decisions. That's one of my life mottos, is after a big event or you're super tired, you're in the midst of something with kids or something, you make no big decisions. Just sit with it. Allow yourself to feel those feelings. Don't try and push them away, because they are part of it. Because also they're part of the learning, is that the next time when you're in the same position, and as long as you learn from this, if you're a serial DNFer, race after race after race, that's when perhaps you need to seek some professional support to turn that mental, why is this happening to me? But hopefully 1, 2, 3 times, think of how you feel afterwards when you don't finish. It's such an emotional, I often use that as a big power tool to finish races, because I'm like, I don't want to then cope with the week after of how hard I can be on myself. But sometimes you have to feel that first when you're starting this journey to understand it and go, right, I'm not.
Well, that's what I could draw on. There's races where they haven't gone well, and I really draw on that. I do not want to feel like this again, and hopefully then implement the lessons that I learned from the race into my next training block or the next race that I tore the line on.
It's also really hard if you've not done an ultra in really hard conditions, be there heat, cold, night, all these different variables that you can't learn about in training. You have to be in the race and to see how you feel. It's really hard if you've never experienced them before to know that you're going to be okay at that checkpoint. If someone put their arm around you and goes, you can stop, we can make this all go away if you stop now. Of course, the brain is a really powerful tool. And so it's too easy to go, the brain is telling you to stop. So we listen to our brain normally every day, and then to suddenly stop it and to override that. Sometimes it takes a while to learn that. And that's cool. Be kind to yourself. That is cool. Learning that, being in that position, sitting in that chair. You might have got really bad blisters. You might have not been able to drink for 10 hours. You might have been throwing up. But nearly always, Tom Evans is a great one. We always allude back to him, don't we? The problem solving. All ultra running is in problem solving. And if you just see it as a problem rather than a big insurmountable wall, you just okay, I haven't been able to eat. So what can I do to help myself? You have to look at yourself like a small child. What would I do? Well, I need to eat. So I need to slow down. I need to sit down and get these calories in, or I can't drink. So I need to find something that I can drink. I need to slow down. Nearly always it's food and drink related. The brain needs fuel to make good decisions. And if it hasn't got the fuel, it's going to tell you to stop. And that's going to be very hard to overcome to stop it. So don't give yourself that little bit of grace to think about it. What went wrong? What am I going to do differently? And then next race, just remember that feeling. If you do start feeling, I can't do it. And remember, everyone's in the same boat. I often advise people to go and volunteer at ultras as well. So especially at the back end of hard races, see the suffering that people go through, see how strong people are, see how when people come into checkpoints, they're totally ruined and they can turn it around. And I think if you see that, it'll give you confidence that the body, you can push the body really hard. And often the brain will tell you very early on it can't do it. And you've got days in you, having confidence. But it takes time to get to harden yourself off to become like grizzly old Gary and me. Where
and also, this was relatively recently in my running journey. I realised that when things don't go well, and maybe I thought people cared, they don't care. They might do, but nobody's sitting at home at night having their tea discussing how badly Gary's all county tops went at the weekend.
Maybe. I also think as well, focusing on just the finish, people get locked into like time and position and stuff. And that's often when races go wrong, especially, sorry, men. Snowdonia races, lots of DNFs from men that went out too fast. So I think, setting yourself up for a finish means perhaps, and building your confidence to go, okay, I'm going to do this race, but all it's going to be about is the finish. I'm not going to focus on anybody else. I'm going to focus on everything that I can control. Big thing. Trish loves, doesn't she? Control the controllables. What can I control? Control myself, control my pace, control my fueling, take my time. And the finish.
Like this year, you can't control the heat, but you can control every decision that you need to make because of the heat. Drink more, slow down. I remember London Marathon one year when it wasn't hot, but it was hot for London Marathon. I think after about 15 miles, I just thought this is not going to be a PB, and I reined it right. And I think I dropped by about a minute a mile and enjoyed the day. I had a totally different experience, but he's done it before. He's finished this race before. It's not like it's the task is beyond him. It just feels like he's had an unlucky roll of the dice, didn't feel well. And horrendous heat. And
also you can, like he did, do the same race twice. You'll have totally different race experiences. Yeah. Conditions will be different. So don't use the mental, self-flagellation of like, oh, I've done this before, but now I'm finding this harder. I'm not. Everything is different. And you can do the same, you can do a 20-mile run and feel great. And you can do a 20-mile run 4 days later and feel horrible. It's all about like going with the flow. It is a true test of life, an ultra race. Like it is a true test of character. Where did I read? Somebody said an ultra run is basically spending a lot of time in the pain cave, not really enjoying it. But then you get this tiny shift at the end of this character development, of this strength of mind, of becoming a different person. And that tiny shift in like what the spine has given me and like what I feel, how I handle life, like for all that suffering, was it worth it for that tiny bit of like, yeah, I got it? I think it is. So I think like focusing on like the pain seems and the suffering might seem insurmountable over the 6, 10, 20, 40 hours. What you actually get out of it is massive. So sometimes thinking about that as well. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, when I was having my small minor mental breakdown, was like talk to people and see and explain how you feel. And I'm really upset about it. I feel rubbish. I put a lot of time and effort into this, and many people, everybody apart from Gary, has had a DNF. But Gary's had crappy races. He's just carried on.
Yeah. I just reflect. Honest reflection. I don't want to be in denial about what the training maybe beforehand.
Yeah.
Give myself some grace. And I know in the past when I've rushed into a next race, that has not served me well.
Happy. And then put it to bed, reflect and then put it in a drawer or a box in your head and use it for positive. Well,
there's always the next race, and hopefully that goes well. And UTS 50K will be.
It's not fair as well on family and friends. If you have DNF, give yourself a couple of days grace to be grumpy, but then it's not fair on them to be around you to mope around any longer than this. I hope that's helped in a little bit, in a little way. Anyone that has DNF, don't be scared of a DNF. I think as long as you learn from it. But as I said, there's always that percentage. You can do it. We believe in you. Yeah, we do. Competition results.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was such a popular competition. I'd reached over 6,000 people or something like that, which was pretty spectacular. I put you in and I put Jocelyn, even though that would because Jocelyn tagged my wife in the competition. But I thought, I'll stick it in, see what happens, because it's not, Jocelyn could still win the hat. But yeah, it wasn't either of you. Oh. It was a guy who I know actually locally. This is not fake, I promise. I've got video evidence. I did film it. So if anybody wants.
I'm going to pull it up. If you're live streaming us, I might have to scroll down. Gary's WhatsApp. There we go.
But yeah, it was a guy called Paul Dalton, and I bumped into Paul.
42 people in total had commented.
45 shares. I'm not exactly too sure, but I can't get all the information from the shares. Privacy. I'm just rambling on now.
Just turn that off now. But there we are. Gary, you're so good that you record it all, and as you're recording it all, you're doing a little
Rex is sneezing in the background.
Sure, Gary, you're doing really well with this wheel. It's taking me
just in case anybody wants to some kind of confirmation. But yeah, Paul Dalton, you won. And Paul, reach out, slide into my DMs. And like I said, I bumped into Paul. He was just outside of Middleton doing a bit of spine spectating. It was in the middle of the night, I think about 2 a.m. or something like that. So well done. Paul, reach out. You've got about 3 weeks, Paul. Otherwise, we're going to spin the wheel again and give it to...
I'll spin the wheel.
But yeah, thanks everybody who entered. Thanks to Big Bobble Hats for supporting the show. And yeah, don't forget, patrons get 15% off over at bigbobblehats.co.uk.
Gary, you've got a race.
Yes, race week.
Got a race. Race week.
It's race week, but it's not really...
Is it on, Gary? Is it on?
Well, you know what I like? I'm going to kind of contradict myself because I'm not going to taper for this. I'm not going to taper for this. So I'm going to hopefully do either some marathon-paced effort today or this half marathon-paced effort on the trails. But what I love about races, and maybe this people can't connect with this, but when you train, there's a lot of control. You do your efforts, but hopefully you finish an effort. You think, I could do another couple of those. You're not kind of completely cooked yourself. You want to recover and go again. You do your easy runs easy, your steady runs steady. Even your long runs, you want to be okay for Monday to maybe do your recovery run. But race is the few times of the year you just get to completely trash yourself and not care about how you feel. Sunday, Monday. So, yeah, I'm going to own those DOMs and I'm hopefully going to smash my legs up and be hobbling around Monday and
Love
Tuesday.
It. Yeah. Are you in? Are we in it? Are you on it? Neil and you? We're going for that mug? Yeah.
We're going for the mug, but I think it's just a stretch too far. Looking at the other people's times historically, we need to be about an hour faster. We might be super lucky and these people don't enter again and we just get a non-competitive year and that serves us well.
I love that.
But what we could benefit from is we've been a lot more mindful of wrecking the course. And that will serve us well on the day. We'll just make a decision and just go with it. And, if you're just not faffing around for 5 minutes, that's going to pay a dividend towards the end. And also, Neil had a big shoe disaster last year where his Solomon laces exploded. And luckily, some angel at the checkpoint had some electrical cable and refashioned some new Solomon laces for him. So I don't want my shoes or Neil's shoes or any other disaster that way, because I think that did cost us about 5 or 6 minutes. So the accumulation of a few of these little nav errors, I think if we ran the same, but just cancelled out all those things, there's probably 15 minutes we can gain just by doing that.
But look at your increased muscle mass. You're going to fly up those hills now.
Last year would have been peak fatigue on my left knee. So I'm hoping, I can drive evenly off both knees going up these climbs. And there's lots of climbs on the Old County Tops, do the DEET on that race. It's a lot of elevation per miles. We're going to go over on Friday night to cut down. We talked with Paul Bergam about getting the stress down and just less race day pressure. Go for Friday night, hopefully as early as possible. People can get off work and just, chill in the youth hostel, then drive over to the Langdales on Saturday morning. And it's just going to be a good tester for kit nutrition. I'm going to do what you said about taking the Veloforte out of the packets and put them in a Ziploc bag. I'm going to do that. Teenager went well, but you're only kind of as good as your the race that you're doing. So
don't worry. If it all goes wrong, there's a really good section on a podcast I listen to about a DNS and how to cope with these. So you prep for that.
But yeah, DOMs. I think
DOMs.
Yeah, but like I said, I just think it'd be a bit of a miracle if we come away with a mug. You never know. It'd be awesome.
Anyone deserves it. Full-time athlete, Gary Thwaites.
But I'm just going to run as normal this week. Apart from Friday, I will not run Friday. I'll just walk. Have a few walking miles with Rexy. Super exciting. I can't wait. We talk about anxiety and stuff for races, even with Dragon's Back race, what's coming up, Cribgork and stuff like that. I just can't wait. I really just can't wait to get up there in the mountains. And I'm going to suffer. I'm going to mourn and I'm going to be thinking, oh my goodness me, question my life choices. But it's where I want to be. I just love the challenge. What about yourself?
Oh, Gary, nothing as exciting as that. I'm at home looking after the bloody kids. They've got their little mini half-term break. Loads of people from around here go off camping and stuff, but the weather's so bad. I'm sorry, kids, but I'm not going down to a campsite to freeze my tits off while they don't heat the swimming pools. You'll go in the swimming pool for 2 minutes and go, it's freezing, and then come back to the tent. It's just too much life admin. I prefer to be at home and deal with kids at home. But we're gonna, so running wise, continue as I've been doing. I've done my long hilly run, which is normally my favorite bit of the week, so now I've got to do a long road run at some point. But that'll be my last. I'll probably try and do a 20 miler. If I can sneak out that long, I'll be like, just be half an hour. And the hill reps, get those done as well. Tick that off for the sort of last biggish week, and I'll start a little downward trajectory last weekend. Fingers crossed it'll stop raining and I'll be able to get out in my garden. Did mow the lawn, Gary. Winter cut last night. I saw.
Have you got a petrol mower or electric?
Electric. And it's a battery one.
Okay.
Because our lawn is sort of like away from the house. Sounds a bit weird, but so you can't, there's no plug point. Our neighbor, who is an really old, lovely French guy, and he has a petrol mower. He's got a lot more grass than us. And then he saw we got a new one about a couple of years ago. And when Bryn came out with it, he was like, what is that? Oh,
drooling?
He was drooling. He's like, let me see this. Looking. He's like, where did you get that from? And Bryn was like, well, just Amazon. And he's like, yeah. Amazon what deliver here? What is it? I love it. Anyway, I saw him mowing his lawn when I brought the kids back from a football or something last night. And I was like, get out. I was like, Finley, get out, get mowing that lawn, because that's one of his jobs. And he loved it. In his Varga hat, which I should have said my box arrived. I am now. I cannot wait to get that protein
sugar rush
maple syrup gel down my mouth. But Finny stole the Varga hat. It literally didn't even touch my fingers, and he is like, "Oh, I want that!" And he has not taken it off his head. It's been on his head. He's wearing it to school. This morning, he almost missed the bus because he came running back in saying, "I need my hat." I'm like, "Where is it?" And he said, "I take it to bed with me. It's in the bed."
Oh. Ellis is going to see a rush of sales over in France.
For the French.
What's going on in Morzine?
Anyway, that's sweet. So, tick along. One more week to tick off, and then a slight downward. Then I need to start planning my getaway, because Bryn's refused to take any more days off after he said he had to take a week holiday because it took me so long to do the spine. So I need to beg, steal, and borrow some childcare and dog care to get over to England. But it'll all be fine. Hopefully, my energy levels carry on going up. Shove the supplements down my face. Mustn't forget, sometimes I go to bed, I'm like, I haven't taken some of them. I have to go back.
I used to be such a hater honestly, I used to be such a hater. You don't need supplements, you don't need this, you don't need that. But
I know.
Complete.
But we're of a certain age now, Gary, where we'll do anything.
Yeah. I have got to say thanks to a listener. And I think he found me through YouTube and then started listening to the podcast. But Steve Taylor over in Canada, he sent me a couple of snoods, which was super awesome. Native print from over in Canada. Oh, how wild is that? Super generous. Yeah. So
super fans.
They crossed mid-Atlantic, our snood. And he's... Thanks, Steve. Honestly, that really made my day when they arrived.
Right. It's the end. Got to go, guys. Real life to be done. Can't just hang out with you. Gary would like me just to keep this Zoom on all day. So
all day, yeah.
Just chat away to me.
We could be there while I'm editing. You could be there in the background. Listen to ourselves for about 6 hours.
Thank you so much to all our partners and our patrons. Go and check out Patreon if you haven't, and look at all the discount codes. One last favor, as I tried to be this week, be kind to your future self. Be kind to yourself, be kind to your body. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share. That'd be super cool.
That's it for another show. Stay safe on the trails, run wise, run well, and don't overdo it. Listen to your body. Make sure you refill with lots of tea or whatever beverage takes your fancy. We won't judge. Depending on how it goes, Eddie, I might be drowning my sorrows or celebrating on Saturday night. I might treat myself to a few beers in the Tesco shop. I've ordered some, it's called Athletic Brew. It's a non-alcoholic.
You are such a sucker.
Oh, yeah. Facebook's got me worked out. The algorithm. So I wonder if it could be completely dreadful. Lisa's bought some Erdinger too. They're non-alcoholic beer, so that's a
It's
backup.
wild round at your house on Saturday night.
Crazy times. What a time to be alive, eh? Yeah. Hopefully it's toasting success. I'll drink it out of my mug actually if we have in my Facebook story. We'll see. Anyway, my name is Gary Thwaites.
And I'm Eddie Sutton.
And that was episode 22 of Tea and Trails.